All right, friends, happy Friday afternoon. Thanks for jumping on with us. As you can see, we have our friend Skye Perryman back. She is the president and CEO of Democracy Forward. Even though you know her by now, let me give her a short introduction. First of all, Democracy Forward is a nonpartisan national legal organization that promotes democracy and progress through litigation, regulatory engagement, communications, policy education, and research. And she was recently named one of 2025's 100 most influential people in the world by Time Magazine. Not too bad. So, congratulations on that, Skye. And thank you for what you continue to do for We the People. And thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Democracy Forward has lodged more legal challenges to the Trump organization than any other organization. Is that right?
That's true. That's true. Alongside so many great partners, of course.
Yeah, lots of great organizations. And as I tell our friends all the time, these folks are in court fighting for our rights, but we don't pay them as our lawyers. We don't retain them, but we need to support them in every way we can. And I'll ask Skye a little bit later how you all can find Democracy Forward and support their great work. But Skye, we have to start by talking about how Donald Trump can vote by mail one day, and then he can sign an executive order virtually the next day, trying to make it difficult, if not impossible, for the rest of us to vote by mail. Can you explain what the heck is going on
Of
here?
course, I mean, this is the hypocrisy you always have come to know of the Trump administration. But the executive order the president signed, it's not really worth the paper that it's written on. I mean, this is an issue that has been litigated in the courts several times now. And courts have been very clear the president doesn't have authority to do what he's trying to do. He doesn't have authority over our elections. And it's you kind of see this as the latest attempt to probably create performative drama to intimidate people, make them think, well, maybe I shouldn't even try to vote this year because the president's, this big, scary individual that's going to take the right to vote away. We're not going to let him do that. And, just also a very concerted attempt to continue to try to wield executive power that the Constitution doesn't provide him, which of course we see in a lot of our cases across many issues, but it's very concerning, of course, in all cases, but of course when you're talking about the right to vote.
So, what do you see the path now for this executive order to be challenged and to make its way through the courts? And the reason I ask is because on the first day of his second term, he tried to, take his little black Sharpie and cross out of the Constitution the guarantee of birthright citizenship. 3 days later, January 23rd, a Reagan appointed judge said it was blatantly unconstitutional. And look at what we have been through on the legal front, just getting to the argument that we had the other day, which looks pretty good for, having that struck down. But, the havoc that it wreaks in the process. What do you see now the path for this new executive
And
order?
just to say on that, because you're referencing the birthright order, this is a good example of what the president tries to do, but we also need to set the facts straight. Every single court action that challenged that executive order, every judge found that it was blatantly unconstitutional, including, as you recall, the Reagan judge that said this is the most unconstitutional thing I've ever seen. You have even his own appointees and members of the court that at times have been sympathetic with some of his policy agenda being very clear in oral argument. You can tell they're highly skeptical of this. So that's an example of a way that he's tried to wield fear into people, even though from every single day, from the day he signed that executive order, the 14th Amendment has been in place. The courts have been clear, and he hasn't been able to proceed on that agenda, but he's created this perception that, of course, of fear, which is understandable. And so that's exactly what you see with this executive order. We've already seen 4 federal lawsuits filed, wonderful cases, some brought by Democratic members of Congress, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and the Democratic campaign committees represented by Mark Elias and the Elias Law Group. You have a case that was brought by the League of Women Voters and the ACLU, phenomenal case that we've looked at, and then a case that was brought by LULAC and a range of other organizations, and then many more. And you'll see. So you see the federal courts are already they already have the papers. This will be litigated, and when you look at the counts that the lawyers are arguing in court, it's essentially that the president has no authority. I mean, if you boil it all down, I have all the complaints right here. They're great reading if you want to know the many reasons that this is unconstitutional, but Essentially, it's just he has no authority. The Constitution's very clear that states and Congress are the only entities that really have control over elections. And then, of course, this because it's mail-in. He's trying to claim authority over the Postal Service that he doesn't have, that Congress didn't give him. And so you see those claims as well. So I think you're going to see judges swiftly strike this down. And the real challenge for all of us as people this year, and what we're calling on all Americans to do, is to work together and build community and cut through the noise and understand that you're going to see many more of these attempts to try to minimize people's confidence in our voting, to try to make people believe they can't vote. That's what he's going to, that's what he's going to try to do this year.
Now, let me ask you this. After No King's Day 3, I guess, I attended the rally that started in Arlington, Virginia, and we marched over the Memorial Bridge
Oh, I was
into
there.
D.C.
Okay, so I didn't get to see you there. Okay, but you were
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Yes.
I was there. I actually got to address the crowd on the front end. They gave me 3 to 5 minutes. I'm long-winded. That's tough for me, but I managed to bring it in under 5. But I was so energized, and I remain energized to this day. And I am feeling optimistic that no matter what they try to throw at us to suppress the vote come the midterms, we're going to run roughshod over whatever those nefarious efforts are. How are you feeling about the upcoming midterms?
I think that that's exactly right. I mean, we have seen from day one in this administration, what we've seen as lawyers is we've seen people stepping up to bring these cases. People at the beginning of the administration were saying, "Well, why aren't there people in the street?" Well, guess what? They weren't in the street. They were on court dockets bringing cases. The biggest and largest affirmative litigation effort we've seen, powered by people stepping up, organizations, teachers, veterans, voters, students, doctor, everybody stepping up to say. And then you start seeing it build. In the spring, you had the hands-off mobilizations, 2 historic No Kings mobilizations last year, and then this one was just unbelievable with over 8 million people across the country. I was at the one in Washington, and I also had the opportunity to join some virtual ones that people are doing to make sure that they're accessible. The main one in Minneapolis, and the American people may disagree on some things, but they take the right to vote in our democracy very seriously. And this administration has exposed itself as an administration that is trying to take power away from the people. And I say, it turns out fascism is not that popular in this country. And that's what you're seeing with folks. At the one that the march that you were at, there were many people there from all different backgrounds, but they were all energized and finding community and building community. And so, so I agree with you. I think that the American people are up to the task. I also don't want to minimize how hard it's going to be. This is going to require lawyers every single day in court, every single day, just like this. We don't need to just see one lawsuit. We need to see multiple lawsuits. These things are blatantly unlawful. We need to make sure they're blocked in the courts. And it's going to require people and communities to build community with each other and support each other. There will be efforts to intimidate people. There will be efforts to confuse people about where to vote or how to vote. But we can do that as a people. We've overcome that before, and people in this country can support each other. And that's what we're going to be focusing on at Democracy Forward, in addition to our court battles, is how we can make sure that people have the resources they need to make the plan, to support their communities, and to call their lawyers when they need to call their lawyers.